You were listening to a Nerd Room podcast, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Be sure to check out more from the Star Wars Commonwealth on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world. Hey everyone, and welcome to Star Wars Rebels Alert, the weekly podcast after show where we recap and discuss each and every episode of Star Wars Rebels Season 3. I'm Rhaenyra's Tim.
I'm Troy.
We're finally back after almost a month hiatus here. We're picking up right where we left off with the Legacy of Mandalore.
Yeah, it feels good to be back, man. It's been a month off.
Man, it's hard not watching Rebels every Sunday morning.
I know.
Like, it's become a tradition for me. I get up before my family, come down at like 6 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. I plant myself there, and I get my fill of Star Wars for just to really kick off my week. And I haven't had that for so long.
I know. You got a big bowl of cereal going on, too, taking it back. Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to picking up on this Mandalorian arc. This is something that I've become somewhat enthralled in and very engaged with over the last season here, especially with the last couple episodes that focused in on Sabine. And we were left with Sabine before we went on the hiatus, her going through that training session, that very emotional, that very deep episode that both you and I raved over.
Awesome episode.
It was one of my favorites of the season because it really went in and explored Sabine in a lot of depth, something that we hadn't gotten before. And this episode really drives forward the exploration of Sabine and cracking open that door and revealing quite a bit about her family, including the identity of her mother here.
Big reveal, right? Because that kind of cancels the doors or shuts down the speculation out there on Satine possibly being the mom. I think that rumor is gone.
Yeah,
completely.
It's long gone.
Yeah.
It's blown out of the water with this episode. But we pick up right here with Ezra and Sabine and Kanan as well, flying to Crow's Nest. And this is Sabine's home world. As they fly into the planet here, they're greeted by Mandalorians, flying Mandalorians, these Super Imperial Commandos, if you will. I love the white suit too. It really reminds me of the prototype Boba Fett suit.
That's all I see every time. Yeah.
And I thought, how badass of a scene where we do have these Mandalorians greeting a spacecraft in atmosphere and fighting and disabling it immediately. They don't need their own spacecraft. They're going one-on-one with a ship just in their armor.
Yeah, just badass, man, right? Completely.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And when we land on the planet here after they're disabled in the air, and we get one of the leaders step forward here, and he seems to recognize Sabine when she walks off the ship. He pops off his helmets. Immediate thoughts there.
Yeah, I knew it was the brother.
Yeah,
for
me
sure.
too. Right
like,
away.
The eyes and everything like that. I wasn't expecting that name, though.
Tristan.
That's not very Star Wars-like.
No. Especially when you get, like, Sabine, and then you get into her mother, who's eventually name-dropped as Ursa. Ren. Like, it just doesn't fit for me.
No, especially the Mandalorian culture.
No.
Like, yeah, it's weird.
It is a strange thing. And like I said with this episode, as Tristan leads her to their strongholds, this is where we start to really explore the family dynamics here. We also get a hint in towards the feelings for the Jedi. This is amplified by her mother later on, but her brother says we'll see how the Jedis are received. And I think this is really going back to the previous episode that so expertly depicted the Mandalorian versus Jedi war.
Right.
And I think you see a lot of that in here. And that's something I'd love to see explored in a comic book or something further down the road.
Yeah. Going off that note, I always find it kind of weird now because we've had this 20-year gap where Jedi have been pretty much extinct. And so when you see a Jedi pop up, you think you get more of a reaction, especially from the Mandalorians being like, whoa, like that's a Jedi. So I always kind of find that weird when they're just like casually like, oh, there's a Jedi. But nobody knows that Jedis are around anymore at this point. So I always kind of find that a little weird, but there's lots of history to go on there with the Jedis and the Mandalorians.
So much history. And that was something that I was always confused with in the original trilogy after seeing the prequels and getting that gap. And they're starting to fill a bit of that content with Lost Stars. I think helped me a lot. Bridge some of that ideology that they're kind of pushing into the masses. They've essentially erased the Jedis from history. They have new textbooks and all this propaganda that goes into it.
Even Ahsoka a little bit touches on that, right?
Yeah, and that's the way I can buy into all this because that was something that always slightly bothered me, especially with Han Solo. Like, what is this mumbo jumbo? Right? It doesn't make sense. And with a lot of that, with Lost Stars and them filling some of the time gaps in here with what the Empire is doing, I can kind of buy that, but you're right. It's the history the Mandalorians have with the Jedi that I think allows them to not be as shocked when they do see someone light up a lightsaber.
Yes.
So, and it's interesting too, because the immediate assumption always is when someone lights up a lightsaber that they are a Jedi.
Yeah.
And coming off the Jedi Purge, is that always the case? Because you'd think that people have collected Jedi weaponry, they've collected the lightsabers and all that. We have, we see in some of the books, bloodlines, and even into the comic books, there are collectors of Jedi culture. And so my assumption maybe wouldn't always be, someone lighting up a lightsaber is actually a Jedi. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's just kind of one of the thoughts that come to mind.
Right? Yeah, Jedis and lightsabers always go hand to hand, in my opinion, right?
Yeah. And finally, like we said at the top there, that we do get this reveal quite early on in the episode of Sabine's mother, and she's named her as Ursa Wren. This wasn't as dramatic as I thought it was going to be. It kind of just happened. And I know that there's some legacy and there's some people that were hoping for a particular character to tie this in a bit deeper to the Clone Wars. Yeah. As a Clone Wars veteran, are you somewhat shocked or even upset that they didn't go and connect a bit deeper? Or are you happy with having a more original character in this role?
Yeah, I really wish they did pull from a character from the Clone Wars. I was thinking either it's going to be Satine. Well, obviously she's dead, but Satine's sister, she had a sister in the Clone Wars, which I thought maybe it was her. I'm not super familiar with Sons of Dathomir, even though I know you and I talk about it a couple times, but I believe there's a character in that comic book too, when people are comparing her armor to this character's armor, so they're thinking it's going to be the same character. Yeah. I don't know if it even is the same character, because hers is red, whereas this character here, the mom, is yellow. So I would like to see it been, touched upon or connected to Clone Wars history, because I'm a big Clone Wars kind of junkie. Yeah. How'd you feel about the reveal?
I didn't really have that connection to the Clone Wars, so I don't have it. So I wasn't completely shocked. I was hoping for something a little more, but again, I would have to come back to you or someone else to actually feel that connection, because I don't have that knowledge going back into the entirety of the Clone Wars series. Mm-hmm. So I was okay with this. But this character herself, she kind of flip-flops a lot in this episode.
Yes.
But there's a lot more revealed about her and the history with Sabine that I was a bit shocked at, because the impression I got even from the last episode that she was more or less abandoned by her family after she fled. Mm-hmm. And this appears to be not so much the case. Her brother and her mother seem to be reeling from what happened with Sabine, her creating this weapon, because it looks like the rest of the clans blame the clan Wren for that creation and then her fleeing, because that's eventually what led to the submission of the Mandalorians to the Empire and this instilling of Gar Saxon as the governor.
Right.
And I really thought it was more about them casting her away. It doesn't seem that way. They seem to at least still care for her.
Yes.
And there's a question asked by Sabine, why didn't you come after me? And her mother simply states, because we wanted to protect you. If we came after you, not only the Empire coming after you, but the rest of the Mandalorians as well.
Yeah. I was kind of waiting for like an Obi-Wan line, like, it's your point of view kind of thing going on. Glad they didn't go that route. The big question is who's the dad now?
Yeah, because that's the big thread that's left hanging out. We answer one question, and we get a completely different question that's left out there for us. And
exactly.
That's something I think is probably going to get explored in season 4, would be my guess.
Yeah, I'm thinking season 4, or going a little ahead. I think, we all know where this episode goes. I think we're going to get a novel, possibly Sabine.
Okay, I'd love to talk about that. Let's get through the rest of this, because I'm totally on board with you. And I can't remember exactly when we discussed it, but I'm thinking like a double timeline novel or a double timeline comic book.
Yes.
Where you're going back and exploring the Mandalorian past, that Jedi versus Mandalore's war, and kind of bridging that gap between some of the episodes here and filling in that pockets of history.
Awesome.
While also developing and moving forward with Sabine's character, and even into the future a bit with the Mandalorians. Like, that's something I'd love to see, to bridge some of my knowledge gaps here.
Definitely.
And to fill in the canonical universe as it was wiped out. A lot of it was wiped out as when Disney took over, right? And so there's so much there, and that's something I've been kind of banging on about, is that I don't get it all. I don't get this culture because I've never really read much on it. It's a part of the Star Wars universe that I'm not familiar with, and so I felt myself always trying to play catch up with these episodes up until the last couple here when we got a little bit more depth added to them.
Yeah.
And we mentioned Garth Saxon here. So he is the acting ruler, the governor of Mandalore. And he's also referred to as the Emperor's Hand.
Yes.
Which is an interesting drop. And I'm not completely familiar with it, but I do remember there being hints to that in the old Legends universe.
Really?
I believe Mara Jade was a hand of the Emperor, and I think it had a different connotation, so I don't know if it carries the same amount of weight, but it's interesting that they kind of reinserted something like that back into canon. And I have to say, for the listeners out there, if you guys are really familiar with the EU or the old EU and the Legends universe, I'd love to hear what exactly the Emperor's Hand is, because it comes to me because I remember seeing stuff, and I remember reading a few things like 10, 15 years
Yeah.
ago, but I'm not really engaged that much in the Legends verse to completely get what that actually means and what the weight it carries. So I'd love to hear from you guys on that one.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that because I'm always about tying like Legends in this new Rebels and Clone Wars. They're always tying in that stuff, and I
Dave
love to hear about
Filoni,
it.
he is a master
He's
at
killing it.
bringing everything back, like bringing Thrawn back. Like that's
Yes.
an easy one, but just little touches, little pieces here and there. I love the fact that he takes the time to go back and reinsert important points, important parts of the Legend universe back into canon. Yes, sometimes he does it differently because he has to fit it into this current canonical universe.
Yes.
But he is taking and acknowledging and nodding to the fact that he respects what has come before, and reinserting that, I think, is just that ultimate piece of respect from him.
For sure. Love it.
The Darksaber becomes quite a pivotal point here in this episode. It's something that we saw Sabine fighting with, training with, and we got a lot of understanding from that previous episode before the hiatus of the legacy of the Darksaber. And were you shocked when she almost immediately turned it over to her mother after igniting it and saying, look, here's what I got?
Yeah, like a couple steps back there. I was like, what's going on? We just got this huge, awesome training sequence the episode before, and now you're about to just toss it up to your mom like that? I was like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, it was that immediate trust. And I kind of get that with family, but there has to be a little bit of her saying, look, I'm going to feel this out before I just hand over this saber that's supposed to be this piece, this icon, this piece of Mandalorian history that allows the person to almost wield the power and unite the Mandalorians, right? Like, so I thought it was a really weird step, especially her. She's quite guarded usually.
Yeah, I know. And the mom's not playing around. The mom's like, oh, so you got that sword from Maul, like you defeated him? And she's like, no. And she's like, well, you don't deserve that. You know? And I was like, wow, she's not laying up on her daughter there.
No, she had a cool line in there. It's basically, it's one thing to hold it, but it's another thing to keep it.
Right, yeah, exactly. Which is so cool because there's so much history there, just going back to Maul and that saber. So just love that stuff, how it ties in.
Yeah, and were you surprised about how quickly her mom seemed to turn by giving up the Jedi?
Yeah.
In turn to protect Sabine. Like that turn, I was quite shocked when she immediately went to Gar Saxon. I thought there was going to be a little more give and take there, but she immediately had all this set up.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be some kind of loyalty because it seems like what they've established here with the Mandalorians is that they're all by honor. And so for her to make that turn, I was kind of like, shit.
Yeah, she's in like overprotective mode, not only for the Clan Ren, but also for Sabine. So that's another aspect that I like about this, that they lighten that character of her mother, because like I said before, I just felt that there was so much darkness behind her family, and you get there and it's pretty open, pretty welcoming with her brother. They're doing this sparring match, and kind of immediately getting back into these tight family ties that you do see presented as part of the culture of Mandalore.
Yeah, they really played actually Tristan, the brother relationship, and Sabine really well. Actually, that worked for me a lot. Yeah.
And as we drive towards this inevitable final battle between Sabine and Saxon that we do know is coming, we see him immediately turn on Clan Ren once she turns over the Darksaber to Gar Saxon. This all happens so fast.
Yeah.
And do you think it was stupid on Saxon's part to just say, look, I've got the Darksaber now I'm going to destroy Clan Ren? They had her on side. He could have taken the two Jedi straight to the Emperor, and this Emperor's hand thing becomes much more than it already is.
Yeah, it's a little out of left field, right? A lot of turns going on pretty fast in this episode.
It was a quick-paced episode.
It was a quick pace,
They did not belabor on very much,
Right.
but I still felt that I got everything out of it that I wanted to, specifically when it relates to Sabine's family. Like, I got that dynamic, and I really appreciated that, because I was a bit worried that I wasn't going to fully engage in her family dynamic here, in what she tried to explain in the previous episode, because it was so emotional.
Yes.
I didn't know how they're going to pack in a very emotional episode that was topped off by this battle between Saxon and Sabine, and I think they really hit it out of the park there.
They really did. And again, like, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but this is what they've been doing so well from the Clone Wars, and doing it even now in Rebels, is these 2-3 part arcs. Like, if you're going to go back and watch season 3 on Blu-ray and watch the first part 1 of this episode and part 2, it's going to make you appreciate each scene that much more so, right? It kind of complements each other going part 1 and part 2. So really like what they did here.
Yeah, those 2-3-parters, I agree with you fully. Like, these are what we need more of.
Yes, definitely.
These stories that continue through in a couple episodes, an overarching arc, if you will, that is kind of start to finish, but also leaves some dangling threads to pick up later on in the season. I think I get more out of these episodes, because we have a tendency to call those other ones fillers, or we try not to use that word, but sometimes you do get that these more bottle episodes that aren't playing into the larger arc. But one thing the season's done really well, they've had 2 or 3 major simultaneous arcs going on that play into each other, that weave in and out of the whole series and still drive forward the main narrative that is the Thrawn arc, right? Like, so it's been doing that really well, and it's really engaged and captured me, I think, through the majority of the season here.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think it's safe to say we're done with the filler episodes. Like, I mean, 6 episodes left. There's no room for it.
No, we got a couple episodes leaked here. We're going to talk about them at the end of the episode here. So give you guys a chance to turn it off if you don't want to hear about the leaked episodes.
Right.
But getting into the final battle, it ensues with the arrival of Finn Rao, and he's tossing the lightsabers over to the Jedi, and we get this nice close battle with Mandalorian versus Mandalorian. The Jedi's involved in there. And one thing that I want to point out here while we're talking about the Jedi is Ezra has a few key scenes in here that lighten the tone a bit. His awkwardness throughout this is fantastic.
It worked for me. Yeah. Normally I find him annoying, but it really worked in this episode, I found, with that humor of his. The awkwardness.
I really liked it. Yeah, it was key on the awkwardness. Him talking about family. Like, it was really cool. I really appreciated what they did with Ezra here, even though him and Kanan kind of play background character to the Sabine and the family arc in this episode. So they've teased this Saxon-Sabine fight since the season 3 trailer, the mid-season 3 trailer, I believe.
Exactly, yep.
And so we've been sitting on this for the better part of 2 months now. We knew it was happening. We knew she was going to be fighting with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
What did you think of this fight as a whole?
Oh, this was awesome. This is... Well, first of all, it's crazy because, it's such a great lightsaber battle, and these aren't Jedis. These aren't Sith. This is probably second to the Vader. I mean, the Vader is obviously way more epic, the Vader and Ahsoka.
Yeah.
But this was pretty cool. Right when they go out the window and it's just silent. There's no music, there's no score, and then they pick up and they just start going at it, and you get some shots of the ice breaking, clashing. This is an awesome saber fight.
Oh, I absolutely loved what they did here. And going back to the score, as we do almost every episode, when they started fighting, when she ignited the lightsaber, there's a swell of the Star Wars original score in there just for a moment.
Right.
That touch, I had rewound it 3 times the first time because I was like, oh my God, this is so good. Just the emotion that brings to you and the weight to the scene with just the score itself. It's just a hint. Go back and listen to it if you did not catch it. It's so good.
It's just there. It's just so subtle. What were you thinking when we got to that point? She had the dark saber and she had the green lightsaber. It was a total callback to Anakin, episode 3, right?
All Dooku's head.
Oh, yeah. Do it.
Oh, yeah. That's all I got from that.
Yeah, that was cool. That was my only problem with this fight is actually she didn't end it. I was kind of like bummed that the mom shot him. I kind of wanted, maybe not even necessarily to kill him, but I kind of wanted her to be the one to triumph over her.
Yeah, I feel that it was cut short almost.
Yes.
And it's appropriate, I think, for the character.
Yes.
She did lop off his arm in Star Wars tradition.
Yeah.
Because I rewound that a couple times because they didn't really show it.
Does it actually come right off?
It comes, you don't see it come off, but it's very heavily implied that it does come off.
Oh, wow.
And you do kind of see a small nubbin
kind
of go down quickly.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh my God, did she take his arm off? Because I was like, that's really appropriate for a Star Wars lightsaber battle.
That's right, yeah.
But it doesn't really show it. And because it's Disney XD, of course they're not going to show that, right?
Yeah.
And with this fight, you said that this is one of the best lightsaber battles that we've seen in Rebels. Does it bother you when someone other than a Jedi has a lightsaber? Because this is something that we really hadn't seen much of.
Right.
When you go to the OT, the prequels, the only person I believe, I might be wrong here, but the only person I believe that picks up and ignites a lightsaber is Han Solo briefly in Empire Strikes Back.
That's right, yeah. That's the only time that I can recall. A little bit. I mean, because they've done such a good job of establishing Sabine, especially this season, and we got to see that the lightsaber training sequence.
Yeah,
it was deserved. But normally, I do like to see the Jedi or the Inquisitors or the Sith go at it. Like, preferably, that's what I like to see, right? But this worked for me. It really did because they built up Sabine.
Definitely, I agree with you there. Sometimes it bothers me, but it makes sense for her to be picking up the lightsaber.
Yes.
I like that Ezra's the one that chucked it to her, and I like that they're going at it here, lightsaber on darksaber. Like, this is appropriate. This makes sense. I agree with you. Sometimes it takes me out, and I think that a Jedi should be the one to carry the lightsaber, but I'm okay with this, and I'm okay with it maybe going forward. But I think, like you said, the key to it is the character has to deserve it.
Yes, exactly. You can't just throw it in their hands. I mean, Han did it for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, just to open up. Tauntaun. Shove Luke inside. And Sabine makes a big decision at the end of this episode.
Huge. I didn't see this coming.
Well, this is something that I talked about. I speculated on. We debated about whether or not they're going to allow Sabine to stay on Crow's Nest with the Mandalorians, try to unite them against the Empire. Now that she has the Darksaber in hand, and now that word of Saxon's death is going to spread, create that chaos.
Yes.
Which Sabine's mother makes reference to, that this will allow them to choose a leader on their own the way that they used to.
Right.
And Sabine makes reference to the fact that she can do much better here on Mandalore than she can with the rebellion.
Yeah.
And this is, like I said, something that I threw out there a little while ago and said maybe she's going to stay and they're going to spin something off and do something different. You said you were shocked.
Well, to see it so soon, I thought maybe like a season finale, like eventually she'd go that path. But like this episode, I wasn't expecting it. Especially like, you know, Hera's been like working hard to like recruit more members. Now they lost Sabine.
Yeah, one of the best.
Yeah, right. So I just didn't see it coming this episode. Yeah.
No, it makes sense. And we know, spoilers here, so we know in future episodes based off the mid-season trailer that the Mandalorians do come back at some point and fight in a space battle with the Empire. I'm assuming she's going to have some sort of triumphant return with at least Clan Ren.
Yes.
And maybe some other followers. And so I don't doubt that she'll be back and probably with the Ghost crew coming out of season 3 here.
Yeah.
But who do you think is going to end up leading the Mandalorians? Like, we've talked about, is it going to be Sabine eventually and they're going to try to spin something out with just her, maybe a new Disney XD show or a comic book or something like that? I'm not really feeling that because she does say in there that she has no interest in leading.
Right.
Who do you think could potentially lead? Do you think it's going to be someone that we've seen before?
Yeah.
Is it going to be Tristan? Is it going to be her mother?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I want to say Sabine. Even though she said what she said, but I want to say her just because she's become such a fan favorite. Like she's been picking up like how people have embraced Ahsoka coming into Rebel season 2. Like people love Sabine. Yeah. And like going off that other theory, like I think they are going to do a book. And you're going to have to base it on Sabine. What cool way to tie in the Mandalorian history and have Sabine at the same time.
It's the way you got to do it,
It's the way you got to do it, right? So I still feel that way. I mean, I like the relationship between Tristan and Sabine, but I don't feel him being like that leader.
No, he reminds me a little bit of the Iron Squadron kids.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great call, actually. And I don't see the mom picking it up, but I wish I knew if that was the same character from the Son of Dathomir. I can't make that connection quite now, so that's something I have to check out. So my money is on Sabine for now. What are you thinking?
I don't know. I don't think Sabine. I'm leaning a bit more towards Finn Rao.
That makes sense. Yeah.
He seems like someone that's been very supportive of Sabine. Like this is a character I think that she respects.
Yes.
And he has shown that he is loyal to not only the Mandalorians, but also the Rebellion and Sabine. Kind of sitting on this side of good, I will say. I really do think it's going to be him, because that seems like not so much an obvious choice, but also the very obvious choice.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to go with something completely different, because I think this is all going to be picked up in season 4.
Right. I think it's safe to say then Sabine will probably make it out of Rebels alive.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think this is an easy way to allow her not to be in that New Hope timeline, or at least present within the rebellion in that timeline, that she's off doing something else. And I think, again, this is somewhere where you could pick up a book. Is that coming out of whatever season 4, season 5 of Rebels, that she spins out into her own thing here. Like, she could almost carry a TV show herself. Yeah. Almost. If they had a few other supporting characters. So I think she's going to make it out. I fully agree with that.
Definitely think so, yeah. Because actually I saw even on Twitter this week that there's talks of another animated show going on out there. I think it's going to be a different timeline. I think they'd have to get away from this pre-episode 4 after episode 3.
Yeah, because they're really harping in on this timeline right now. Even some of the books that are coming out, everything's kind of layering itself. Yeah. So you're getting a lot of dense material, and I love it, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But there's a lot in here. They need to go to the Force Awakens timeline. They need to go maybe back to the prequels like they're doing in the comic books.
That's right, that Shattered Empire, just after Shattered Empire.
Yeah, and just kind of fill in a bit more of that. And this is their bread and butter right now. This is where their movies are focusing in on. Yeah. This is where the anthology movies are focusing in on, kind of that timeline between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, or Rogue One now, I guess. Yep. So it's cool that what they're doing, but I agree they need to expand a bit more. And I think a new TV show, like we said, Knights of the Old Republic is probably the way to go, but I don't know if we're going to get that. So, all in all, what did you think of this episode?
Yeah, I loved it. was it worth the wait? I don't know. This goes back again to being like, it's something this season's really going to benefit from binge watching when you can go from episode to episode to episode. But it's a great episode. It really built up for me towards the end when we got that awesome fight scene, and we're dealing with Mandalorians, so it's great stuff.
Yeah.
I like this episode a lot.
Yeah. I have to agree with you fully there. It was a tight episode. It was quick. We got a lot of what I wanted out of it. And I agree with you. Yeah, maybe it wasn't as big of a return as maybe some of the other episodes like we had seen in the past.
Right.
But it really wrapped up this arc for me. It left a few threads dangling for later on in the season and for even into season 4.
Yes.
I'm excited to see more of this. I would love to see a comic book or even a novel adaptation that expands a bit on this Mandalorian culture. I really want to see more of this.
Yes.
So this has amped me up for that. And Sabine, I love this arc. I love where she's going.
Yeah.
And I hope to see her kind of propelled to the forefront of the Star Wars Rebels cartoon even further in season 4.
Absolutely agree. And I really like that idea you mentioned, the comic book, because Sabine's so colorful too.
Yeah.
To see her on the pages.
Be awesome.
That'd be incredible. Yeah.
One last thing. Do you think we're going to see this weapon that's referenced to a few times throughout the episode, and even the last episodes, that she did design for the Empire? Is this what's going to bring her and the clan Ren back into the fold when it comes to the Empire? Is this going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back for them resisting the Empire, fighting the Empire, and finally joining the rebellion in some sense or another to actually go out and fight Thrawn?
I think it is. I think this is something they're going to have to address, because even just going back and forth, we were talking like, wait, did they answer that? And we're like, no, they haven't. So yeah, I think it's definitely something they got to answer in this season. Yeah.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Awesome stuff.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to say major spoilers here. We're very, very quickly going to talk about the leaked 5 episodes here. I'm not going to go too much into depth here because I don't want to spoil myself either.
Right.
So I'm just going to read off the titles, and we're going to quickly talk about just even what we're going to get towards the end of the season here and what we think this is going to push us into as far as season 4. So major spoilers for the last 5 episodes here, guys. You're cool to cut it off now. We've finished our discussion. And if you want to stick around, we love it. We're going to discuss these a little bit and speculate, but we're not going to spend too much time on it. So I'm going to say it one more time, spoilers for the last 5 episodes of season 3 of Rebels. All right. So there was a leak of the last 5 titles and brief synopsises. I'm just going to buzz through these really, really quick, and we're just going to kind of pick out and highlight where we think the big arc's going to come to a close in this season. So episode 17 next week, which is Through Imperial Eyes, which looks really cool. It looks like it's going to be from the perspective of an Imperial, either some sort of commander or something to that effect. Fulcrum possibly,
cool.
Yeah. So
okay.
I never even thought about that. That's a great idea.
Nice.
So
awesome.
we might get to see some of his arc coming to a close next week. Episode 18. Now this is the first of the leaks. This is called Secret Cargo. And it looks like the Ghost crew picks up one of the important rebel leaders and transports him or her across the galaxy.
Oh.
Who do you think it could be? I think I already know. I think she was shown.
Oh, yeah. It has to be Moth.
Moth.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get her back.
Nice.
And potentially this episode is when we get the introduction of the Rebel fleet.
Oh.
Maybe Admiral Radis.
Oh.
How sick would that be?
Oh, that'd be huge. And some X-Wings?
Oh, man. That's going to happen in this season,
has
too.
To. Nice.
Oh, man, that would be sick. Episode 19, Double Agent Droid. So this is a team up with Chopper and AP5.
Oh, I like AP5.
Yeah.
That's my droid right there. Okay.
So this is the last of the potential non-critical arc episodes.
Yes.
And I think we're going to get a nice, calm episode here, a fun episode, before we get into some really deep and potentially dark episodes coming into the back end of this season here.
That'd be cool, actually, because that reminds me of last season. I think that's when we were first introduced to AP5. It was towards the end of the season, so it's kind of like a follow-up, maybe. Episode
20. This is one of the big ones.
Oh, boy.
It's called Twin Suns, and it airs on March 18th, 2017. This is huge. This is the episode with Kenobi and Maul.
That's like a pay-per-view episode right there.
My God. I'm not even going to read the synopsis. I've read it. I do not want to spoil it for you.
Cool.
But this looks like it's going to be massive.
Oh, man. And that's episode 20?
Episode 20 airs on March 18th, 2017.
Wow.
According to this leak thing. So that might change as they change around Disney XD and all that. But I don't think we're getting any more breaks here. And we're going to drive forward right through the end of the season. So basically in a month from now, we're going to get that showdown.
This is going to be huge.
I'm so excited for it.
This is huge.
I don't want you to even read the synopsis because I want you to be full spoiler free on this one. And that's followed up by a two-parter.
Oh, of course.
So that battle isn't our season finale, as we had discussed
as you
before.
called it. Yeah.
And it's called 0 Hour Part 1 and Part 2.
Okay.
This is the Thrawn arc coming to a season end.
Yes.
Based off the brief description that I've read here, it looks like potentially Thrawn is going to make it through this season, and we're going to see him into season 4 like we wanted all season.
For sure. So Death Troopers.
Yeah, we're going to see the Death Troopers in this episode, too, because we saw that in the mid-season trailer.
That's right.
It's funny you say that. I was thinking literally the other day, I picked up a Death Trooper helmet, and I was like, I don't think I've seen the Death Troopers from that Rebels episode that we got in the mid-season trailer.
Yeah.
So we're going to see them. That's going to be awesome.
And we're going to see that little training sequence of his. Because Thrawn kicking ass.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, that's... Oh, man,
I'm wondering if that's going to be in one of these episodes kind of in the next couple.
That's right. Maybe even the Falcon one.
Yeah.
That we just thought of there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it looks like we have a massive month and a half-ish of Rebels watching here. We're getting these arcs coming to a close. This Twin Suns one, man.
That's going to be huge.
We're going to Tatooine in Rebels.
That's going to be huge. It's so cool because last year they answered, the big fight night, which was Vader and Ahsoka. Yeah. Now we're getting the big Obi-Wan and Maul.
My God.
This is huge.
I've got goosebumps thinking about
for sure. This could be the best season right now. Just off the last 5 episodes you mentioned.
My God.
Crazy.
This is going to be a ton of fun to talk about, and we are going to be back every single week that one of these airs. So we should be back for the next 7 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Seeing if there is a gap in here. I don't think so, but hopefully not. I'd love to ride this out just straight on 7 weeks, full Rebels here.
Yes.
That's the way I want to do it, and I'm super stoked for the end of this season. This has been probably my favorite season, I'm going to say.
It's awesome, man.
And we have not seen Vader in the season either.
I know. That's the thing. Crazy. No Vader. Yeah. Jeez.
Crazy. So,
wow.
A lot of Rebels talk to happen here on Star Wars Rebels Alert. But there's also a lot of nerd talk happening over on our other podcast, The Nerd Room. It drops every Thursday. And this week, we're going to be going into a ton of detail of New York Toy Fair. They dropped just a massive amount of Star Wars merchandise, action figures, and also Marvel. We talk about comic books, we talk about Marvel, and we're going to be going through quite a bit of detail, particularly focusing on the 6-inch action figures.
Yes.
And the 40th anniversary Star Wars reveals, the card backs, the vintage 6-inch card backs, unreal.
Yeah, glorious.
So good. We're going to be so broke by the end of the year. But we're going to be talking about that on Thursday on the same feed you're listening to right now.
Yes, so keep it locked right here, guys.
For all your Star Wars news. We're going to be going through a little bit of the new book that was announced. We've got Empire's End dropping this Tuesday. So a lot going on in the Star Wars world. Super stoked. I'm happy to be back into Rebels here. I've got my fix for Star Wars for the week. I'm going to jump back into the comic books.
Nice.
And then we're going to be talking action figures, collectibles in the next couple of days. We're also going to be doing our Oscar predictions too. This is something that Troy and I have been batting back and forth.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's something that we really like doing on the other podcast because it's something to kind of focus in on. It puts little stakes to the Oscars and it's pushed us into watching some of the movies that we don't particularly focus in on. So a lot happening in the nerd world, a lot happening in the Star Wars world, and we're excited to be back and we're excited to be going forward here with Star Wars Rebels Alerts. So until next week or Thursday, if you tune in and listen to us then.
That's right.
For Star Wars Rebels Alert, I'm Tim.
I'm Troy.
Ahsoka!
This has been a Nerd Room podcast production. You can find our hosts, Tim and Troy, on Twitter at TheNerdRM and Troy TheBoy87. Don't forget to subscribe to the Nerd Room on iTunes, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search the Nerd Room Podcast. Be sure to head over to StarWarsCommonwealth.com to find other podcasts on the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network, including Talk Star Wars, Generation X-Wing, Tumbling Saber, Rogue Squadron Podcast, and the Skyhopper Podcast. Follow the Star Wars Commonwealth on Twitter at SW Commonwealth and take your first steps into a larger world.